Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 8:10, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, it says in our county documents, we are endowed by a creator with certain unalienable rights. Those are life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. Lord, help this body honor that. Father, also in your word, it says that government exists to punish evildoers, Lord, and praise those who do good. So in everything we do, let's your word and let you be the Jesus' name. We pray. Okay, so we jump right on. We'll look at our agenda. In front of us, it said 8:10. We have county personnel and public comment. I look around and I don't see anyone. We do have a window of time between now and then to have the courthouse security discussion, and the Sheriff Merchant is here. Thank you very much. Is anyone else coming?
It's on the agenda for 8:30.
Right, but do we have anyone playing? Okay, he's coming too. All right, so between now and then, is there any comments anyone you'd like to make, any commissioners, or do we have any business we can?
Well, we can go ahead to all the business down below.
Okay, and we will. I just wanted to make some time if anyone that, oh, here we go. All right, well, we'll just go on down the agenda. The first thing is a tonnage report for the landfill. And I have it right here, and it's okay.
And then it's what, so.
Sure. So everyone get a chance to look at it, look it over. Is there any questions or discussion on it? No? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the tonnage report from the landfill.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the tonnage report from the landfill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, the next, number 2, there was the minutes from the meeting on January 13th. Is there any additions, corrections to the minutes?
I believe we should, make sure when Richard's motion to notify the counties that we word it like Mr. Hughes suggested we word it. And where it says, puts in the law that we're supposed. This is. Okay.
Sure, which. Kevin, you were in here last week, we. You know, that we said that we needed to send that. The planning commission and zoning regulations to all the city and then engage with this one through it. We did vote to go ahead and get that off, but we
have to, the second paragraph there.
We have to adopt anything. Ahead of time this week before we could have done it with.
Well, you know, you're turning down Wichita's involved on that part of it, so I've not seen what he sent, but, what's what he sent out for?
So Richard made a motion to, in the spirit of doing that, but we didn't use that exact word.
Yeah, no, I think it has to be what he mentioned, what we have in that motion. So let me, approve sending the notification to them. I don't know if we can add that after the back, so that we're paid at the time. You can check with Hughes, but I don't know if that would be critical. I mean, as long as the written notice is submitted as required. Should be okay, but you can double check with him on that. What the statute requires is that the notice goes to the incorporated cities, and so as long as that's complied with, whether that wasn't specifically mentioned in their motion, would likely not be critical, but we could reach out to them. We would just option. And that's what will be critical, is the fact that they can have a sort of
Can I add that in or now, or was it not necessary?
well, if you make the motion, then I think you'd have to likely resubmit the certified mail. So, I would just recommend double check with him. And make sure that it wasn't critical of the actual specific statutes.
And that's one thing we did put in there was this, that statute.
Yeah. Yeah, everything else is in there, and I think what's critical on the statute is the fact that notice went out, that the major plan with some motion, so. it Should be good if somebody can reach out and check.
Who is the point of contact with like Patrick?
Yeah, Bill has been, I think, the planning commission, I think Nikki and I have as well, so, I mean, if you want, I can, you know, just can't get that out. Yeah, I think already does.
That'd be great. That'd be perfect. One attorney to another. Okay.
Oh.
So are you, okay, thanks, Commissioner Paul. Now we did jump ahead and schedule. Are
So,
you're here to listen. Okay, I just wanted to make sure because we're in the public comment section. I'll make sure.
so we didn't finish with the minutes, so
Right. Okay, anything else on the minutes that we need to make an adjustment to or approve as read? I would say that only thing I might add is that we did talk a little bit about the room layout. I don't know if that's a matter of business or needs to be reflected in the minutes, but we did mention that. Other than that, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes of
Okay.
13/2025.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving on. There's,
We can go back and Tammy's in there, the roads and bridge,
okay,
so we can go back and.
okay. Guess we'll go back. Do you have anything?
Well, I have a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is Eric with Gray Snow Communications reached out. I mean, he is having trouble. He's trying to tell me that this is the reservation boundaries. Because he was asking if they needed a permit for work on the reservation. And I said, you won't need it for the work on the reservation, but once you get to county roads, you will. And he says, well, with my understanding of it, from my work with the tribe, this is the reservation. And that's not true. It goes clear up to a mile south of Hiawatha. And by this map, Horton's on the reservation, Natawaka, Whiting, Powhatan are all on the reservation.
So look at our comprehensive plan, we should just go with the map that's in our
Yeah,
comprehensive plan.
it's an age-old situation.
Is it?
With Kickapoo that you're.
Yes,
So there's a 1854 treaty, and that's what I think the expanded boundaries are. 1862 treaty was superseded the 1854 treaty. 1862 treaty is the 5 by 6 miles, and that's what people refer to as federally recognized boundaries. And I think Sheriff Merchant can tell you that's what law enforcement, I think, recognizes as the 5 by 6. Their tribal police recognize 5 by 6. KDOT recognizes 5 by 6. Bureau of Indian Affairs official map recognizes 5 by 6. So you can refer them to the DIA, to the KDOT maps, and say that's what we follow.
and I did send him the KDOT map, and so then he comes back and says, well, I took your information to the tribe and they want to know why the county had the authority to change the boundaries. And I said, the county didn't do that.
You can refer to 1862 treaty and ask them if it's the expanded boundary, why is what the Bureau of Indian Affairs not. So
Okay,
that, yeah, it's something that has gone on for.
it's been
It's been in the
an
back,
issue.
back shelf as a potential that's mentioned from time to time, but it's never, when they had the federal issue on civil jurisdiction, they was mentioned in there, and said, we're not giving them that, we're recognizing for purposes of federally recognized, we just 5 by 6.
Okay. I will be there.
So who was that was complaining? I didn't hear
He wasn't complaining, it was
who.
Say grades.
Eric with Grace Snow Communications.
Oh, okay. That's what I didn't hear.
So,
Did that answer your question then?
yes, I just kind of wanted to know if this had been a thing before, or why this was just now coming up, that
It's been an issue for.
Is there any document or anything that would help you, that we could come up with to explain that? So if you run into this again, we could take.
I was going to look in the basement and see, because I had some files from BIA and
I think I sent a whole packet of that to Bill Von Schmidt, or the mapping person was questioning that at the time. I think that got me with those in the attachments, so I think Nikki has those too, but I can go through all the email, forward those to you.
because Eric said he was going to send me the documentation showing that these are the boundaries. I said, okay.
Well, what they may refer you to as 1854 treaty, which
But 62,
predates 1863. So
that's good information.
You didn't know that was part of your job, did you? To know all those treaties?
I wasn't alive back then, so.
Understood. Okay, well, thank you.
And then we needed to go into executive session, please.
How do you know with?
Yeah, we've got 6 minutes till.
Okay, fine.
Move it, go into executive session for 5 minutes. That's not like the 3 commissioners. Reviewing them. And that's my motion. I got a second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Yes, you. Thanks.
5 minutes.
Oh, just that, yeah.
Wait till he gets-
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, we're back in session now. Thank you for no action taken in executive session. We're back in the regular meeting. We're at 8:30. We have scheduled a courthouse security. And we so gratefully have Sheriff Merchant, and Judge Weingart are here. Judge McNish, hello, welcome. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you, but welcome. Okay, okay, well, the intent of this, I mean, I think it was brought on by a question from Commissioner Pollock and hoping to be informational, educational, and count, you know, where did it come from? Why do we have it? And may ask a question or two, but hope to be very, very friendly with the whole thing. So I don't know how you want to start or who wants to start.
If they start with Bill, and what do you have to say?
I stand here totally. Totally. So I'm not presenting, if he's the one who wants to do it, what you want to do.
Okay, well, I guess I was in the understanding that we really weren't. We were just looking at it. I didn't see him as making a proposal to do away with it. That's totally fine. Bill, if you got questions, they have answers.
Well, I guess what I proposed was that instead of having, yeah, why? Start with a question. So the judges go to different courthouses in the district. Is that correct or not?
Good. Two districts. Three magistrates. Brown County. Other towns.
So when you go to different courthouses, do they have the same no gun security that this courthouse does?
You have to go back further, the Kevin, sheriff. They're the ones. Essentially, they're a big political push for freedom to carry concealed and. So they passed the law and that needed to be a lot. Well, then, public forums, state football games, basketball. They review all the, we're concerned about. Firearms, yeah. So they went to legislature, but they did not authorize. Security system. We could ban firearms. So that's actually. Good. Right,
It's the deal that came up with the bill in the past, and it basically said if you have, by the commissioner, they can enact a no firearms in the courthouse. But you have to have a place to lock the people, the guns there, you have to have armed security, and you have to have I call it a halo, a metal. And if you have all that, and the commissioner goes on it, then you can restrict weapons coming into the courthouse. Is that correct, Ellen?
So yeah, the term is adequate security, so it was a very conservative group of legislators are the ones that came up with it, so this was a bill that was passed. Yeah.
Oh, let's say the constitutional process.
Yeah, it went through, it is constitutional, and so I think what led to it here is we have had several incidents, including up in Portland, we had somebody that actually brought a weapon in for her sentencing before she was sentenced to prison. We had another incident out in the hallway where an individual was upset with how somebody treated a family member. He traveled all the way from South Los Angeles, was gang affiliated, came off the elevator and did a full-on body tackle of the individual and they landed on the knee below. We've had threats, I've had threats, and John investigated threats involving myself. We've had threats to county employees. It's not been that long ago. We had the court service office on the first floor, firebomb, and they had repaired all of those offices. So it was with that backdrop, with all the threats that have been made, that by statute, the sheriff is responsible for courtroom security. And so Bill asked what other counties have done, where some do have metal detectors up front, some fit them right outside the courtroom. No matter what happens, you have to provide courtroom security. And the thoughts were with court services on the first floor, which is the individuals that are the probation officers that supervise people. But then being on the first floor and the way our courthouse is set up, it would be easier to have it located at the front door for people to go through. And then I think we've seen, I think in the packet, there's the survey results on courthouse personnel, people that look at the courthouse. It looks like the question, would you like to see security at the front door continue? The yes for that was 30, and the no was just 1. And then there were a lot of comments about, employee safety and the security they feel by having that person at the front door, as well as back there. They're also there to assist the public as they come in, which is going to pass through. So that kind of backdrop for where we got, where we're at.
Just a reminder, not everybody strikes that check. Those folks. I think it's a good solution. You agree?
Courthouse, I'd like to explain just a little bit. I like the fact that protecting our employees. I've got a number of employees who look at me and say, we like to hear, we want to hear the work, state kind of work. But when it's all came to be, I got blamed for this. And I got attacked, verbally attacked a number of times. Because I put this in. Now, we went through the constitutional process. You have a local representative, you have a local senator that both voted in favor of this, which allowed the commission to make these choices. But yet I got blamed for it. I believe it was that they just didn't see it the way it should have been. We got asked with doing just as for the statute. So Kevin, I think you got the halo and everything else, you got all that, you worked at the plant and whatever. And I trained my security guard. Because the liability is so funny, people kind of count it off on it's not a huge deal. I have training stuff. They have to know what's going on, they have to have range time, they have to interact with the public. And the public, some of them have been to executives. So that's where the complaints are coming from. Is people that don't like it, I understand that, I appreciate that. But at what point do you, if somebody asked me one time, do you like this? I don't think you really like it, but it's kind of a necessity where we're at. My life would be either if it moved upstairs. The reason being is because I get attacked. And that, you guys probably don't even get a tenth of what I get. But people need to own this. They need to realize they went through the constitutional process. This is here because it can, not because we're trying to make people run so. So that's what needs to be looked at. Like I said, I've had a lot of people in this courthouse that feel safer. And they count this as a benefit thing for it. Because they don't feel like they're gonna be under attack. I believe people on the courthouse that we respect the second floor. Half of the we have children. Parents aren't happy when we have children who need care. And it just, they're just not the same role we were talking about.
That's a good point. The children need care in custody cases and things like that. And, we, like Judge Weinberg said, it's not just practical things. We have some pretty bad stuff coming through. And I'd say it's probably the most volatile thing sometimes is when you're terminating criminal rights on the case, which unfortunately happens a lot where you have criminal rights terminated. You have termination hearings, those are very emotional. That's why I had a handful of threats arise out of those cases. Employees are in law enforcement had to sweep our house once just to make sure that somebody was carrying that out. And those guys, Fish, as a prosecutor, just had threats. So it's not just an idle thing. It's not just our office. John had an officer whose car was fired on. It's not just something that exists in a vacuum. That's what we deal with on a regular basis. And probation has had some people been explosive in their office. And I think there's some comments made in the board packet from people that outline some of the threats that have happened even in their office. So it doesn't exist in a vacuum. I think it's been in effect according to what is in the packet since December of 2017. I know there were some complaints at first. I think those have probably died down some compared to what we first had. And I think that most of the public is used to this. And it's pretty notable that the people that may still complain now are not people who are going to be most affected by your decision today, or the 30 to 1 vote of people that would be affected that work here. Like I said, it's working. We have good security. I mean, we call them upstairs from time to time when there's a explosive situation in the courtroom, and they're right up there, and John officers are right up there. And, that goes with them. It's good show. Appreciation for what a lot of things have been doing.
And it is something that
Yeah.
you can have a follow the situation. Not that.
Yeah, the gal that was setting his head up, and I recall about that long that was in the back of her pants, so she was able to get through.
Well, what I proposed last week was that you still have the security officer, but that he could roam around and be where the situation needed to be. It wasn't stuck down here in the front.
Yeah,
Pardon?
you don't check everybody.
No.
Why do you
So-
identify people who need to?
So. Back up a little bit. We don't check everybody now. We don't check employees.
No, they get that. Security.
Pardon?
They already have security.
How did they get that? You gave them a security clearance.
That's pretty consistent with what, the Supreme Court has the marshals that do, and the federal courts have the marshals that have to go to the federal courthouse, and I think that's pretty standard procedure, is that the employees of the courthouse will identify themselves with a badge or a photo ID, and they do not go through security every day. When I go to federal court, that's how. When I go to Supreme Court, that's how. They have a separate interest for employees.
So do they give you a background check before you give that badge to you?
They're employees, so yeah, you're not have, you're an employee of the courthouse. Hired.
Okay, so you,
So I think the point is, so you're not, no matter what you do, there may not be 100% insurance against everything and anything. We're here to reduce the risk, and I think that's what it's doing now. It provides security by reducing the risk that we would otherwise face.
sure.
So just educational here, one of the concerns that we hear, that I hear, I guess, is what Bill's trying to address. And when a member of the public goes through security, goes through the sweep, does everything, and as a farmer, I make the joke about the pliers because it's happened. I had to go back to the car because I forgot my pliers. So how do we address, is there any way to address the rules for thee, but not for me type situation that the members of the public see? If we ask someone to surrender their Second Amendment rights, we take that pretty seriously. I know you do. But how do we address and alleviate the concerns? And it's all hypothetical that an employee would have nefarious intentions. Is there any way to do that and still make everyone happy, I guess, and still have adequate and reasonable security, but maybe take away that, well, I don't have to go through it, but you do type of situation.
That's a policy decision. I think it would be overkill for employees, especially ones that go with bank deposits and stuff like that, to go through every time. But I do make a point when I come through, and I think your security guard will tell you when I go through this door that I go through security every time. I've never not gone through security. Now, we do have the employee rear entrance that we come through. But we have other employees, they're all treated, if you treat everybody the same, it's not disparate treatment. So every member of the public is not exempt is going through. I don't know that the guards will say, oh, I know John, he goes to my church, come on through. I think they are making the point of having the go through. The public, but that's pretty standard for employees. If you look at Supreme Court, employees who usually do not go through, the procedure.
I'm just trying to address, you know, I haven't been to, I don't know, John.
I go through the paper.
I know like at the government office, like in DC, when we went there, we,
Well, geez, it was like, John Murphy's, it's a different world.
sure,
And that's, there's 80,000 people that go to the chief and everyone.
but to my point, I'm just, some of the division here is the members of the public versus employees of the courthouse. And it's just, I'm not trying to express an opinion, I'm just trying to express what we hear, I guess. And I just was, I just wanted an answer, and I think you gave it. Go ahead.
So you said the world is not like it used to be. Why is it not like it used to be?
We could spend days.
Just- So what is the main reason? So surely you have some idea. Why do we have to have security?
Do you think you and I, if we do with the security, that we're gonna clear the bill, and there'll be no group, no assassinations, no killings, nothing like that can happen? And we total line here, you and I.
I didn't say that. I said, what has changed in the world that has, in our country, that has allowed our country to go the direction it has, and that we are afraid of our neighbors. Basically, that's what we're saying. We're afraid of somebody coming in here. So what has changed in the last 100 years or 50 years that's caused that to happen? Anybody have any ideas?
Well, I think everybody has a lot of ideas, but it doesn't change the fact that it's neat. I mean, that's, I mean. That like Jeff said, we can discuss for hours that the entire courses that address that. Really don't have a final solution to that, but we're just addressing the issue. The issue is we're required to provide security, for the courtroom. Will it say, I know that some people mentioned will save money, and I think I'm thinking that will not save money. If we move it from the bottom floor to the first floor to the third floor, we're still going to have adequate security.
For an auction last year, Mr. Paul. We ordered an auction. And I think it was like 24,000 additional.
Yeah, you come up with a bigger number, right?
Oh, so it'd be more.
What's that?
So your calculation would be higher, it costs more to do with it.
We wanted somebody that was gonna be full-time security, for the Roman courthouse. And then we had to have extra security when there is court session, because where it's lined up on the third floor. You have two entrances coming up from the stairs, you got the elevator, you got fourth in the main courtroom and fourth in the small courtroom. It would take at least two people to do that, so it would be enough things to do that. And if I mean, you guys asked last year, you have to find someone to do an alternate, that would, I mean, that would be the extra cost at that time, should have put.
For the probation, to go here. So there,
So I have a question. Has court services always been in the courthouse?
Yeah.
Has it always been over there?
long time.
It seems like,
But D. Henry used to be county. His corporate, his he was, that was good. He was my assistant. And there's more cases, we have, that was Sunday. Law enforcement at a high level, because of these cases. And where do those people go? with the sheriff, with all the people that are arrested, it's kind of the voices. So it's like in Kevin's office, I mean, everything's increased.
Okay. Sir, if everything's increased, there has to be a reason why it's increased.
Well, I understand, but I'm not a sociologist, and neither are you.
Well,
And you think you by yourself with your philosophy is going to change society? Not, I'm not gonna think that I have that much authority to change the community, change the world. I know what you're saying, and I totally agree with everything you think. But how are we gonna implement something like that and carry on?
so to me, it's our education system, and so how do we hold them accountable to teach the truth and not teach falsehoods? Because if we don't teach the truth, then there's no standards. And so I'm not lecturing, I'm lecturing. Okay, yeah, I guess I am lecturing the judges.
Well, hey,
And,
I'll wrap, I think,
Okay.
because we do want to keep the temperature in the room down. So.
I'm trying not
so,
to.
Bill, I think I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from.
Oh, here's the talk about whether or not continue.
Okay,
I didn't know we were here, to talk about all moral problems, everything else.
Bill, do you have a question for them that maybe is not philosophical in nature? And I'm not trying to quash what you're saying. Just, they're here and we got a limited amount of time and everybody's time is valuable. I mean, I have one I'd like to ask them, but.
okay,
I'll-
go ahead.
So again, and I'm just from this side, how do you explain, and I mean, I don't want anybody to feel like on the defensive, but the different counties in the judicial district have different security, like courthouse security policies. Could you just touch on that so people understand, and so I can understand?
I can just address it from, I've been in multiple courthouses. My garden's unique in the setup, is one thing. With court services, we have on the first floor, court on the second floor. Our caseload, is higher than the 3 other counties in our district as far as the total number of child care and criminal, domestics, which are your 3 most volatile areas. Our caseload and sometimes it's been probably, it would be double what, 2 other counties combined are. The reason for that, probably multiple, I won't get into them, but we just have a more volatile caseload, I think, than what others have experienced. And so I think all of those factors together are what led to what we have here. But I think the main thing is it's been working. It's been working since it was enacted back in the first part of 2018, and it's been successful. And,
I think we would together can make sure to discuss the issue of security. Which is not.
At the different counties?
I think that was from Brown County. It probably conducive to the kind of case like that. Rather than what we need to not do. I think that's turn to here, plus the way it's structured. Sure.
well, and I think this came shortly after, because there was a financial discussion as well. It's the liability on counties. Something that happened over there.
Yeah.
To the commission, basically putting on notice shortly after incident, I think in Georgia, where somebody came in the courthouse. Yeah, $multi-million assessment. against-
And, commission first. Civil rights.
I guess I didn't follow that part.
Yeah, that happened shortly before the security.
Yeah. We have documented incidents, weapons.
Mhm.
And order. Where that, or action, address that issue, do away with this issue. Take the question of this area.
Sure. And that's a scary thought. But I'll, and again, I'm just kind of keeper of the clock. We've got 5 minutes before the next thing, and I don't want to chase anyone out of here if you still want to discuss it, and it won't. But, I guess to speak candidly, I wanted to learn. I mean, Bill brought it up or last week, and I just wanted to learn, and you were all gracious enough to come down here. I didn't anticipate. I mean, government, in my opinion, should move fairly slow and should be fairly deliberate. I don't think the issue is put to rest because there is some legitimate public concern. And you know, there's some people that, I mean, I think I don't know, the right to be heard is a given, but I think what they say is serious. Well, I mean, what if they actually, I mean, if you're serious, I could bring that up.
They think it's all. We're dealing with pretty.
I understand. I'm working, I think I understand.
So, you know, I'm sorry that someone didn't take 3 minutes, so he was here.
Sure,
But the value that is given to the employees, all my employees, all of the law enforcement officers, everyone knows that there's no weapons inside the building.
Mhm.
And if the company,
Mhm.
so it's good. Yeah, I'm sorry that someone feels inconvenienced because they're going through it, but I don't understand why there's an inconvenience here, but not an inconvenience to all the reservation.
sure. And
I
then,
mean, we're, those free speech people are not free speech, but arguing to you.
Sure. sure.
And they have their concerns. I don't think, not coming out of protesting if the chiefs or paying their big thing.
Because they just want to watch the game probably, and they'll do anything possible to make that happen. But if we do,
Yeah, that doesn't, it's not consistent.
well, so if we, and I don't want to wax philosophical, but it brings up a good point, you know. One of the other arguments we hear is we have security in the courthouse, but there's really not much of the school. And I'm not trying to, it's just, you know, how do we balance that? And why is it important for all the adults, but maybe not so much for the kid?
Well, it has to be John, schools have, but
Sure.
one way windows. These sort of.
Schools have, I've been involved with some of the problems, especially in the south. But you really need to take a look at it because it's very impressive on what they've done. They've got, hard work in the door. I'm not gonna go into specific.
Oh, yeah, don't, please.
But they are really improving, keeping their students safe, making sure they're doing, windows and entrances. You can't get into the school now without clicking the button and saying, hey, they're not there. And everything else, they're trying with them, quite a bit.
Sure. Sure.
And the word the schools need to be moving on. But I really, even in all the schools in Brown County, I'm really impressed that they're trying to do everything they can.
Oh, sure.
Financially, you know, let's go to keep kids safe. And I think they're sure, you know, if you have noticed the fluffy coverings on some of the windows in some of the schools, people can't see them, they can see out. I mean, they're doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not a comment. My comment's not that the schools aren't doing the best they can. It's just, you know, to my knowledge in Brown County, we don't walk through a metal detector to get in the building. And again, it's just a bugaboo and it's a communication thing. And then there is some angst in here in this room because, you know, they want security and that's totally reasonable. There's also some people out there that are like, why do I have to go through security? And I mean, you know, by and large, that's mostly reasonable too. And we are almost out of time and
Can I just?
you certainly,
I would like to say too, I keep close watch on grants, things like that. I have noticed there's more and more school grants out there. So I would say within the next 3 to 5 years, I guess, you're going to see some of the schools having medical detectives before they go to school. And I think most of it is figured out. That is supported. So I didn't see those. Usually every city school, you're gonna see a lot of that too. People, sick people out there who want to make the best bang for the buck, and then get the people more than. School, churches, things like that.
sure.
So.
Bill, do you have more questions? I'm sure you've got some time.
I don't know, I guess we are the elected authorities and the judges, we're all in, everybody in this room is kind of responsible for what goes on in our communities and how how our country progresses. So this is just a hypothetical situation, but if you there were nails right up and down your road and you kept getting flat tires, would you just keep fixing your flat tires, or would you try to pick up the nails and correct the problem to start with? So I think, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's maybe took decades to get to where we are. It's going to take a while to get back, but maybe not forever. So maybe we need to be looking at why some of these things are happening and not just sit here in our little safe place, but actually make some effort to investigate. Because if we're not taught, if we don't teach our children the truth and how to behave, why are we surprised that we have a society like we do? We can, I mean, who holds the teachers accountable for, or the government? It's not just the teachers. The teacher don't, it's government that says what they can do and what they can't do, kind of. So where do we go? Do we, I mean, that's my point, kind of, that it used to be a better place when this building was built. We didn't need security, except if you look upstairs, the treasurer's office and the register deeds office did have more security. Now, I mean, the register deeds office hasn't changed, but the treasurer's office used to have to stand out in front of the gate and, well, that little window, and that gave them more protection than they have now. Why did they give that protection up? And why do we have to have the court services in this building? Why can't they be in another building? So that's all I'm going to say.
I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I haven't said that, I've been a supporter of the courthouse security. If we go backwards and something happens, I don't want my name on the line, or I'm gonna cause my family harm or financial burden, because, you know, that's what they do, you know, you know, they'll all, you know, you got, anytime you take your security backwards, because of the vote we have here, there's gonna be some liability on our side if something happens. But that's.
It is 9:02. And I'm not kicking you out. Not at all. Okay, you're leaving of your own volition. All right. Well, thank you very much. Would it, well, Sheriff, would it be appropriate if at some time would you just refresh the commission with security measures, what you're doing, what, you know, anything that you see, anything we can do maybe to sort of find some balance here, or, you know, anything like that? Okay, and it, you know, do we need to schedule a time? Do you want to?
Just final coming in every Monday. And then if you have a question, then I'll be here and not.
That sounds like a lot.
On the final coming in, if you got a question.
Does that suit you? Will you have any more questions for him?
No, I don't have any. Oh, I won't have any more questions.
If you would come in next Monday, don't schedule a bunch of Mondays out, but next Monday, I think we could talk to you for a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff Merchant. Appreciate it.
Anything else?
Is there anything else while he's here? No hands. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay. Okay, well, we're gonna move on. We are a little behind schedule, but not bad. So the next on the agenda that I see is a bid opening.
Yes.
And it's right here.
We have.
Well, you've got, I see 3 bids. Okay, we've opened the bids. This is for the landfill construction. And we have 3 bids.
Where's yours? I got BHS Construction. You have.
I have Bob Ray
Bob Ray.
Construction.
By B and B Brothers. So what was yours, Rich, BNS?
BHS.
Mr. Pounds, would you, if it's appropriate, could you come on over? Would you mind just a short explanation of what we're looking at here?
Okay, out here at the landfill, the noxious weed building, that building has been allowed to deteriorate. We can see daylight through the walls and areas when it rains, the parking lot, when they got potholes, they just brought in dirt and rock. And so the ground around the building is higher than what the floor is inside. When it rains, water runs into the building and our feet are wet at the desk. The mice have taken over. They're falling through the ceiling. It's just completely inadequate. It's really hard to heat that building above freezing. So this proposal is to insulate and correct those problems in the existing and to put an addition of 30 by 40 onto the east to allow an office for the landfill director and the noxious weed director.
So my chemical storage area out there has no heat at all. So the chemical freezes over here. And we sell that to the public. So it's probably not get them that we're down. It's been like that for like 30 years.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's a lot of papers here. We are looking at the same thing, or they're going to be different opinions, different in these bids. You know, how do we need to read these aloud? I mean, they're pretty lengthy to make sure they're actually similar or the same.
I think that, I'll start off with, let's just try to see what the base amounts are.
Okay.
You know, from each one. The BHS, the base bid is $685,384.
Okay, and that's the work on the current building to build a new one, the parking pads. And electrical.
I think that, yeah, that would be that's what the base. bid.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the overall would be if they did everything.
So I'm looking at Bob Ray Construction. And for what I just said, they're $178,991.35.
Want to repeat that?
178,991.35.
That would be the base bid for everything.
Yes.
Okay.
The
亮过
tax and there's. Got tax, it was $206,326.78. And the tax, it was $221,320.
Bill, what was that about the tax? I didn't write that down.
Other tax,
After tax, the 206 something, 320.
316, 78.
78.
78. definitely. We're gonna move back. I don't have any tax.
No taxes, what, cool.
Right, well, there's no tax. Okay. That's why we- that would be great.
Okay. They can say it's a PHF. So. Yeah.
You okay with that?
The thing we need to look at is to make sure everything is in both bids. And what, you gave the specs out, so. Well, we just need to walk through and make sure I got everything in it. You got a copy of the spec sheet. With you, or
Not with me.
I don't have one. Alright. Just to make sure that we're getting. That everybody did apples for apples.
Yeah, you could, if there's not time, you could make a motion to, approve whatever they will choose, condition upon that meeting the. Specs.
Or you can, I think we can, I could, I'd like to make a motion that we take these two bills. Where they've been presented, we got the price down, and that Dawn and Rich go compare, make sure everything's in both bids before we make the decision that everything was met. Because there's a lot of steps we put in there, we both got to make sure that we have everything in it. So that way, if something, make sure everybody's, I don't want you to have a bid in, if somebody else bid and, want to make sure that we follow the bid specs and then we come back to
So-
make our
So
decision
you want, the motion is,
to allow Dawn and Rich to take time to compare, take the bids, compare with the spec sheet, make sure everything's in there that was supposed to be in there. And if there's any difference in the two, to bring back to present to us, so we know what was in or was not in the bids.
okay,
And to do that at the next meeting.
is there a second?
Got a question, well. Yeah. No, I won't second it. Not because I don't think it's a good idea, because. Is the landfill being profitable now or not?
It did for the year of 2024. It was profitable and that was a requirement.
It's gonna be profitable next year.
That's my goal.
I mean, that's all our goals, but,
Well, do you want the building just to fall down, it's not being maintained, I mean,
well,
my office has got water coming in, it rains and stuff, I mean, there's no insulation, it's probably 0 degrees here today, no put in the work,
you know, just,
nothing's been upkept on it, I mean, years.
Just one procedurally, since there's a motion, if there's not a second, it can die. If there is a second, then we could have more discussion.
Well, before I vote, thank you. So I think there's a lot of questions to ask, so I'm gonna second it. And then, so it's been moved and seconded to have our landfill and us two involved. Do we need to be involved? Or is that
They
the
can
intended
bring
motion?
it back to us.
Okay, you're gonna discuss and bring it back to us, because we're gonna have some questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I know I will. So it's been moved and seconded to do that. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Pass
I
it.
think it's a good idea.
I don't want to tempt your bid when there's something not put in there, I mean, there's a lot of that, there is a lot in the bids, and I just want to make sure that it's the thing we should do, we need to make sure everything's in there to make sure it's right.
Is anyone here, since you're gonna come back, are you both gonna come back?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any specific questions for them that we can give them now, so they know what we're gonna ask? Oh, let's bring that up.
Richie is not gonna be here next Monday.
So probably the following. How's that? You guys discussed it. It's fine.
Okay, okay. And so you're gonna plan on coming? back
Yes.
Next month?
Yes.
Okay. One question I have, just, so you talked about, we asked you about the landfill being profitable. What is the repayment plan? How are we paying for this?
The capital improvement
Okay.
part that's left over is, and I believe there was quite a bit in the noxious weed side is why we approached this in the first place.
All right. Another question, you mentioned that the building was deteriorating, hadn't been maintained. If the county spends a bunch of money, builds a new building, what kind of procedure will be in place? Policies to make sure we maintain the new one?
Well, you're gonna have all the updates on the.
Certainly, all I'm after is, so everything that's new becomes old. Is there any sort of handbook, any sort of, hey, we need to do this on a timeline? Basic maintenance is what I'm saying, is to protect the
You
investment.
just, yeah, I mean, whenever you get maintenance, you just come up and repair it as needed, you know? Each year or whatever, but I mean, you should have a lot of, spend a lot of money out there to maintain it though, once we get it upgraded.
I'm not communicating clear. What I'm after is, so if we spend approximately 200,000, and like you build a new house, it's your own $200,000 house. We all sort of have an idea that, hey, the roof needs to be inspected, the gutters aren't working quite right. It is, all I want is some sort of staff policy or something I'm hoping for that says, on a certain schedule, we're gonna look at this thing and make sure everything's together, maintained, and in proper working order. That's it.
And I think the director should be responsible to see that that's done.
Okay.
And in the past, that's not been
So
done.
that's the change I'm.
And, right, and nobody, has been spending any money towards maintenance. They're
Sure.
told we don't have any.
Sure.
And that's kind of one of the things that I'm trying to take care of.
Right
being
on.
new
That's
there.
what I'm after. So, okay, perfect. And, sorry, any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious with our C and D down there with some things that are happening to our neighbors to the east. Are we gonna have a huge influx of C and D from the city of St. Joe?
It's unknown at this time. They're just called and asked if it was available, if we would take out of county C and D.
They're talking about shutting theirs down,
It's already shut down.
it's already shut down. I just want to make sure we're ready I don't wanna truckload after truckload come in. And all of a sudden, you're working there helping us out, and all of a sudden it takes a full-time guy, keep the pit covered, and, if it's coming from Missouri, and I don't think they should be getting the price that the people locally here get either. I mean, that's a lot of. It was brought to my attention, somebody else brought it to me and said something, I just wanted to make sure we're.
So far, there's not been one load I'm aware of that's come. We've had some in the past come from out of state, except, Nebraska's always coming down. But we've had some from Missouri, but so far I know it's shut down and I've not known of one load that's come here.
I think springtime, really, it'll hit us during the spring and summer, if they come in.
I just want to be ready to know what we're gonna do. If all of a sudden we have 20 trucks a day show up coming over there from. Construction over there.
So the landfill operates as a separate for-profit in the county, is that correct?
Yes.
So you have the ability, if something like what Commissioner Lincoln says happens, can we adjust on the fly with fees and things to, allow for that?
Yes, and we just did that.
We just did that. Would you, say we get a lot of Missouri construction and demolition debris, and we find out, I guess space is the issue?
No, so I'm doing the C and D right now. I
Okay.
took over on that part of it, but
Okay,
come spring, when I start spraying and stuff, I can do it first thing in the morning before I got sprayed, but I don't know how much stuff's gonna be coming in.
If we have a huge increase, say we have a 50% increase on D and D, if your time's gonna double down there, you're not gonna have time to do both.
I'm not gonna do
What you're
it.
doing in the spring. I just want to be prepared for that, if we have to add another employee on, that's all.
We have to be careful. We can't discriminate against Missouri.
No,
You've got to treat everybody the same.
Okay.
In-county residents, we can treat them, special because they're already paying taxes here.
Uh-huh.
But out of county like Nebraska coming down, we need to treat, in my opinion, Missouri the same way. We can't say if you're from Missouri, it's double what it is from Nebraska.
so if it comes from Nebraska, though, it's already higher than if it came from the county, correct?
Correct.
So Missouri would be the same thing. It would be higher, but just not higher.
And that's what I've already told them.
That's what I'm, okay, and again, as a for-profit type entity, if we see, or you see that you're getting more debris than normal, then you just make the adjustments as far as if it allows for someone else that needs to work there, then we just make that happen. Is that correct?
Correct, with the commissioner's approval.
With the commissioner. Okay. Anything, Bill?
Yeah, and then I don't know how much you're talking about. I mean, we got space out there for a long time, but
I don't think we know how much we're gonna get.
if any.
Yeah, Penny.
You know, because they're looking at a 50-mile radius, so they're looking the other direction too.
So is that just 6 months of 45?
They said permanently,
Oh, permanently.
right? But there again, the city of St. Joseph might go buy some property somewhere and start a new one.
So we get one more question. Yeah, for you then. So if you're spending, if the money comes out of capital outlay, to pay for this building. What's the 1, 2, 5 year look out on that same, are you gonna be adequately? How much, if we spend all this money now, are you adequately equipped out there that we're not gonna get in a pickle with something, something else that needs update, something else that needs? Does that make sense?
Yes, building wise, I say that we'd be good, but we're needing to look at equipment, down the road, because I believe the backhoe is 2 years old. And I think that's every 4 years or so it's replaced. So that needs to be looked at and planned for in the future. The track loader, that's a very expensive piece, and I believe that's original to the landfill, so that's getting a lot of hours on it. So that needs to be put into this.
Okay, well, I would appreciate it, and then if we could come up with some sort of projection, what you're thinking, so we can look into the future, have like equipment, so on and so.
The capital outlay is coming from my department,
Okay.
noxious weed, strictly from noxious weed, it's not coming from the landfill
Okay,
on the building. part.
so then, really, same thing goes for you then. Could you give me some sort of, plan for the future, kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, because I just purchased a truck that's going to get by, so
I like
I'm
that.
pretty good.
With what you're saying there, a plan. So if you look at every piece of equipment you have, and you say, well, this piece is gonna last me 10 years. I need to buy it 10 years from now, a new one. How much do I have to save for the next 10 years, so I have the money there 10 years from now?
Yeah,
So that's what I'm nice. That's what we need to be as a county, is being able to save, so instead of all of a sudden one budget year, we need another 100,000 to buy a piece of equipment. All right, 5 years from now, we've already saved that a little bit at a time, so.
Yeah.
Look at all your equipment, like when is it going to need to be replaced, and think, well, what was it gonna cost me 5 years from now, just. I've got my foreman gonna do the same thing, with all the equipment I have too, and I think we need those things, we need to plan.
so we just, the truck I just got, it's a 2020, and I just upgraded from a 2014, so I mean. That 2014 is still a good truck, so. I mean, we're not gonna need another truck. Oh, that's another thing,
Well, if you could come up with just something very basic that, that states just that, my truck's in great shape, but maybe my skid sprayer is not. I don't know what you have.
Oh, and we got 3 of them, so
Okay.
we're good on that. We got
Okay.
2 that we're not even using.
Well, that's something we probably
I know
don't
one of
know
them
too.
thought
so.
about getting rid of.
Yeah.
That's all I'm after, just a
Yeah.
little bit, that helps us budget, help us look into the future, and, in the end should help you too, so.
Okay, and the landfill is supposed to be profitable, and it's required by statute, in my opinion, or my understanding of it. Where's the line drawn there? This building has been let gone for so long out there and no money's spent on it. Do I have to be profitable with all these improvements that's put into it? I don't think I can do it. Putting 100,000, 200,000 to improve that building, does that count against my profitability for this year? And I can't do it if that's required. And it's not my fault.
I don't think it would be to have it, because it's coming out of the capital. It may be had to have been in the budget to allow to spend more. I'm not sure if it's gonna have that.
Mr. Hill, did you hear that question?
Yeah, and then agree, you could have capital.
And I'll get with you so I know what counts against and what don't.
I understand what you're saying, though, you don't want to spend the 100,000 on a building and that, you have to be profitable to use that.
Right.
Would you mind if I've been out in the land for a while, I never took the back room tour, would you mind if I come out and just look at it sometime?
Be happy to have you.
When would work?
Just give me a
Give me
call
a
like
call.
a day ahead of time to make sure that I'm not busy with something else.
I wouldn't mind seeing, some of the stuff firsthand, what you're talking.
Don't pick a cold day like today, though.
I won't see you this afternoon.
I got one thing,
Yes,
so
sir.
we've got 2 bills that come from Rainbow out there, and we want to combine it, get rid of one of the bills. We'd save probably $100 a month, because we're getting 2 separate bills, one for the landfill. Not just,
They're two different phone numbers.
Yeah.
We don't need.
I want to buy it, yeah, so we only got one bill, because we'd save probably $1,000 a month. I mean, you.
Pick up with that legally?
Yeah. After the policy decisions, yeah.
I think it'd be good because the landfill, the one that's there at the desk, could
We get a lot of phone calls in.
take on the tree anyhow, because they're there all day, you're gone, so.
I got my cell, they can call too. Yeah. No personal cell.
I think it'd be good to.
And that'd be one internet.
Notice to the public that on how to get hold of people.
Since maybe you want to make a motion on that? Do we need to make a motion for you, or is that?
Not necessarily, I think we can do it internally,
Okay.
if you guys concur, sounds like. Yeah.
Sure, that's a good thing to do. That's saving $1,000 a year. That's good.
That's good.
Anything else?
No, I just like copy of these two bids. Okay.
You can email him about the title. The Kevin about our title, they're addressing to get it.
Yeah. Here you go, those are- she got a email it to them. Let's get, you did. Or did. Sure, you did, I'm just like.
Gentlemen, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, next on the agenda, I have and this is informational. The complaint from the Northeast Kansas Environmental Services. Did everyone get a chance to read that? Okay, so I took that to mean that a farmer had a pile of chicken litter, which they use as fertilizer, but it wasn't in the exact right spot. Is that about the summation of it? Is that what you guys thought? Okay, so I see that. And I'll learn more about this because I have a meeting this week with this group. But it looks like the group reached out to the farmer / landowner and made a request that they don't dump piles of livestock waste. And just for everyone's knowledge, it's becoming more common practice now in ag that we're getting chicken litter, chicken manure essentially from chicken farms south of here. We bring it up, and instead of spreading commercial fertilizer, farmers are spreading that on their fields. So it's a management plan, but it sounds like we need to be more careful of where we put the piles in our fields.
So they probably dumped a stockpile of it to spread later.
That's what they do. They come in with big end dump trailers, dump 25 ton at a time. And yeah. evidently
Evidently,
it's too
it's
close to water.
270 at the Mulberry, that's right there by our rural water district.
There you go. That's probably the,
That's right there where the water supply is. I could understand.
okay. Okay, as far as the agenda, I don't see anything else. Is there?
I'm just letting you guys know on the earlier deal, the question on the planning commission, I emailed, the Prairie Wichita, and he concurs with what I said, not mentioning that statute would not be a fair feedback, so as long as the county clerk sent it out as she said she did, that complies with that statute, so.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Hill. We're good to go on that regulation. So good catch.
That's just what I want to make sure that.
Yeah.
we're good.
He says he concurs.
All right. Is there any other business? Any commissioner comment here?
Kevin, I want to ask you a question. Really far as hiring in the courthouse, road and bridge. We hire, but we have no extensive, we don't have any real background check via just checking their driver's license. What does it take for us to do something along that line where, maybe, we got Jerry Clary down there that does a very good job of vetting people, where we do it for all of our employees.
Yeah, you can, I mean, it's a policy decision, legally you can do, the background checks can actually include, especially with road and bridge, physical testing, then some counties do that, drug testing, and then the criminal background, because we would need to enact policy So we probably go through our liability carrier, I'm sure it has some samples on that. Basically, they would have to sign a consent for background check. Consent to if you decided drug testing, you get a physical, then you have to have and then like neighboring county that does that, the local hospital, and that's occupation police that does that part of it. Obviously, have a budget for it and pay for it. Fully just pay for it, the county that pay for it. So yeah, those are options that you have available. That you can just adopt a policy requiring that that's something you want to get through and all from the. You just want a simple background, criminal background. Maybe sign up for the news for that information.
Probably, I mean, I guess I thought we do that for one break or.
Yeah, that's why, yeah, chaos, there wasn't chaos,
Or chaos.
Department of Transportation requires that when you do a driver's license. Check.
I just asking part of, vetting our people a little bit better and maybe. We found out that there was a situation that could help us avert something down the road. I mean. And I think that, I know that Jerry does a very good job there. So we did it for the sheriff's office, but the sheriff's office is a little bit deeper
Yeah,
than what we do. I mean, what we would want here, maybe they check everything else. So it's just a thought. I mean, when there's a thought on it. If we don't check the state camp and see if they're.
yeah, you can do all or none. What I mentioned.
Are you specific to road and bridge?
No, just the county in general.
Okay. Okay, so and yeah, it says we perform background checks on all employees and drug testing on employees who operate heavy equipment.
So our background check is just driver's license, that's all we do. We don't do anything.
Well, I mean, it's funny how things work out. We talked about courthouse security. Maybe that's a good layer of a little extra security. I don't know if it's expensive, but
It depends, and the only expense I would see is if you did the physical, but the physical test is about an hour long. In the neighboring county, they go through a OT or PT, at a local healthcare provider that would do like that's what I'm going to see, the drug testing is not. I mean, once you get the policy, then you're going to do that for all new hires, that's not a expensive, cost, and then, let's see, they made physical criminal background. Those things aren't extremely expensive either.
so you just want to put this out there to think about, or?
Yeah, I just wanted people to think, but I think it's good that we do that. I mean, it all helps with everything we're addressing the security of the world too.
What do you think, Bill?
I don't know. Yeah. Thought about it too much, but. It's not. I don't know that we put a lot of expense in it.
Would it be all right to put it on the minutes that we discussed it and it'll jog our, maybe some discussion next week?
Yeah,
I'm good.
I could reach out to Jerry and see what things kind of, what have you, or John, or start with John, and talk with John, talk to Jerry and see what. What do we recommend for us on that? Do we have Congress or we both pretty good? There was some talk about it, maybe the health department could eventually help with that too, which check if that's a possibility. Okay. What about that? So we are again. Yes, continue to say Tom's and Kansas, you get those two confused. First time I see that, or heard somebody say it, I thought they were talking about Kansas, but Tom's is just a place that does the drug screen testing.
Where's that at?
You just go up to the hospital.
So to reach back in the minutes, Lloyd Group is in the minutes.
Yes, it is.
And the other one, no response.
So as a, and I'll only play this card a time or two, but as the new guy, the budget process, and just for, I went to 2.5 days of new commissioner training last week, and we touched on the budget. I mean, we just touched. And so the budget is fairly intensive. I mean, you know, it's intensive, and it's really one of the biggest parts of what we do as commissioner. So I hiring a consultant comes with some negative connotations. You know, I will tell you that at this point in time, I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough or I don't know enough about the budget process to feel good about what I know about the budget process. Mr. Lloyd, I did a little research. I did talk to him. I asked around, and he has a good reputation in this state. In fact, one of the presenters from Butler County, they use the service. They seem to really like. Seems to be personable. Seems to be knowledgeable. And again, I'm not sure the process to do something like this, to take on his services. But I think it's something we should really give strong consideration to. But it doesn't come free. It's an expensive charge. It's $25,000, and that's a lot of money. And it's what he's going to do, if I understand, is education is huge. It's education, it's process development, it's streamlining, much like the gentleman here from the landfill, where they said, well, we can just get by with one phone number. You know, they're skipping a step, they're saving some money. You know, he mentioned some things, Scott Lloyd mentioned some things about, you know, are you doing it this way? And if you're not, well, maybe you're spending more time than you really need to. I think he could bring some efficiencies to the courthouse. And I'm not gonna say he offsets his $25,000. But I think we could get a high level of confidence that we're turning out a budget that makes sense, that's accurate, that is verifiable. And I think we can put it in a form that everybody understands, because when we understand, then we can ask good questions, and we might be able to see some things, see some trends, and do something about it.
And he goes back and looks 7 years, what he did for the last 7 years, tries to figure out, you know, trend, what's changed, what's happened. You know, and I think it goes back to, you know, the meeting that, you know, I went to the budget part of the meeting down there, and they, I remember it said the Butler County made the statement about your budget should represent your day-to-day, what you know is gonna happen every day, every year. But we need to be planning on our purchasing and stuff outside of just the budget time, you know, looking at that. And so I think that's something we have to look at. I think we need to get ourselves to a point where we have a 5-year plan looking ahead for our county. And, you know, that's a start, you know, and because we need to do that. That should be what we're doing. It's not just waiting, oh, it's budget time again, everybody turn in your money, make your request, and let's look at it, let's start planning, you know, how we're gonna spend the, you know, sheriff department, you know, they got 2 vehicles they buy every year, you know, so let's look at, okay, how can we plan that, how can we save a little bit every year, so we have that money saved up, so it's there, instead of, all right, every year we have, you know, $75,000 in capital improvement. And we have no capital outlay to buy 2 vehicles when they mile out, because, you know, I learned in most places trade them off at 100,000. We got one at 195,000 and 160,000, but we try to get the best we can out of our vehicles. But he needs to plan too. Everybody needs to plan for all of our equipment, you know, all the way across for the whole county. Know that 5 years from now, we're looking at another truck and have money saved before we get to the. So, we got a lot to think about, doing and changing.
I mean, I think when I look at the budget, I can only go back to the 3 years I've been here or something. But if you go back more, and there are some years you see great big jumps from one year to the next with how you hold those people accountable. I mean, but accountable.
And I think what Mr. Lloyd talks about is what Commissioner Lemke said, just trying to have a plan for the future. And, you know, the motor is gonna blow up and you can't really foresee that, you know, I understand, or you have some emergency, but like you said about sheriff's vehicles, and I'm not sure what their policy is now, but if we have one, we need to know what it is first, and if we don't have one, we need to get one. So that we can, all we're trying to do is budget ahead, and whether you're spending money or not, there's always a deferred maintenance cost in there that's, I mean, it's real. Because just like this building we talked about, you know, they have a building, but it's, you know, time just eats it away, and we should be able to account for that in the budget. And I think this man, or this company would allow us, would actually help us a lot. But that's,
But it's not something that we have, I mean, we use it for 2 years and we get understanding of it, or 1 year, we get understanding what we're doing, we don't have to continue.
so it's my understanding, Commissioner Lemkool has $25,000 a year is for his services. And we use that at our leisure, essentially. That comes with a lot of, you know, there's basics, there's a minimum education, a minimum time he's gonna spend. But you're right, if we grab this thing and take hold and know what we're doing, then, you know, then we can sort of cut ourselves off cold turkey and never don't use him anymore. Or he said he had plans where we could step ourselves down. So,
I know that one thing was mentioned about if you have an auditor and then the auditor preparing their budget too, it's not a, well, we've always done it, but it's not a good thing to have that.
we really learned a lot at that commissioners training, and got to speak with new commissioners from all over the state and ask them about, you know, policies and things, and it generated a lot of good discussion. So my question for the group is, with Scott Lloyd or Lloyd Consulting, where does that money come from? If we would decide to do something like that, how would he be paid? Where does that money come from?
It would probably come out of the commissioner's budget, or, you know, when you look at the capital improvements, see what people have, and see what departments would be able to put anything in for you, but it would probably come out of the commissioner's budget.
So I think we need to be, but you know, we have our budgets, but we spend left and right, and seem like the more, I don't know. And I talked to him a little bit, and we need more information about what comes in. We see what goes out, but we don't see like how much we get from the state. I mean, it's there if we dig for it, but somebody has it, but it's not very helpful. But
I think those are things that he's gonna get it dug up for, and look at, but he'll know ahead of time. You know, him trying to get projections, if he looks over the last few years, and the big thing that a lot of counties are looking at is that our dollars that we get from the price of our crop land, our valuations are going down, so things are gonna get,
that's what I've been trying to say.
things are gonna start going, you know, they're going down, so, you know, there's things that are
We
gonna
have to
start
start
changing.
cutting back some because, or, I mean, you can't just keep charging more for what we're doing.
Well, my hope is that a professional like this company would, it's money up front, but there should be some potential for education and long-term savings. And savings may not be the right word. I think planning is critical, and we can do that. And if I'm learning anything, we need policies and procedures. You know, I'd love to, you remember last week when you said you just handed it to me and move over and I'm the chair. I mean, there's no book to read for me as a commissioner, and it would be nice to have policies and procedures. And just like at the landfill, hey, okay, if we decide to do this, you know, we need something written and something that we can hold, and we just need to hold someone accountable, because that's a huge investment by the county. And we need to make sure it's maintained, and how do we make sure that's maintained? If we just ask somebody their opinion of maintenance, it might be different than our expectation. So we're talking a lot, but I think it is a wise I think it would be a wise use of county money to engage his services. And,
I believe that, I agree with that, and just, most of my answers I got last year for budget came from him, calling him, asking him questions, because I did our ARPA fund, and he knew our county enough, and, I asked him a lot of questions, so I called him weekly when we were going through budgets, because I didn't understand something, or I needed to know what would happen if I did this or didn't do this, so.
so then my question is, do we have the funds to engage his services?
I think next year budgets are gonna be tight. We took 200,000 out of the commissioner's budget for next year. The miscellaneous line item out that we had for these type of things. I mean, it's gonna be tougher, and if the insurance falls short or anything like that, the commissioners have to make it up, but I think that I think we could do it. I think that, when it comes to budget time and the time that Nikki puts in and everything, and the book that she prepares, I mean, all this is gonna be, she's gonna have help for it. I mean, she has to help with the janitors and several different people's budgets, she has to help them with that, and you would train those people how to do their own budgets. But if you look at that, the janitors, the office, we've got the solid waste, sometimes they're all ones that she goes back and numbers for them. All right, so I mean, they need to learn how to present their budget too, and they need to learn, what goes into that. So Nikki having to do all those, so that's part of the meeting process and teaching.
It may not eliminate your responsibility, but it would help with the,
Yeah, that's
Process.
what we're doing now.
okay, okay, well, we'll work on that stuff too, because policies and procedures mean the people that get blamed are the people who are, so we can eliminate a lot of that, just by getting this stuff out in the open. So my question to you, and the last time at the meeting, I'll use the new guy card, is the commissioner, you mentioned a miscellaneous budget,
Well,
Is that,
there was
a
just
number,
there were just a miscellaneous line item. in the budget.
miscellaneous line item?
Yeah,
So we took $200,000 out of
I
that,
took that miscellaneous line item.
it's
out.
completely gone. It's completely gone,
And
okay,
we did 400,000 out of the bridge that had a miscellaneous that was for bridge repair or unexpected equipment, and so to get us down to our revenue for it.
get you where you were, so,
So we don't have that to take out next year.
so how would we fund something like this, where would it come from, and is it gonna take more time to figure out if we can come up with some?
I feel that we, you get to ask other departments that are interested in presenting into it, but I think it's. If we're doing our job and we want them to present a budget to us the best they can, that we need to train them, teach them, have somebody help them work through budgets. And where they can save. And where we can make changes. I mean, that's part of our job, the budgets are our responsibility. So, if we know somebody that worked with them, they've presented the best budget that they think they can present, then we look at, okay, where can we make cuts in? All right, we take $100,000 here, what's that gonna do to us over here?
Sure.
I'm going back to when I first started with it, you just looked at a budget, you went down, let's take 10,000 out of this one, let's take 10,000 out of this one. We never looked at why we were taking money or why we were cutting. We just was looking at the overall dollar amount. Let's just take a little bit here, let's take a little bit here. And try to reduce it the best we can. We need to know, what can we cut, to say, what can we take out?
So I think I heard it right that they were requesting the state departments to cut 10% out of the budget. So that's another. So we don't always get what we want. Sometimes you have to make do with what you have. So, if we said something like that, And I think we've discussed that a little bit in the past, where you take so much from each department, a percentage. But that kind of encourages departments to pad their what they want, so that's kind of not necessarily good way to do it. So if he's
We look at, you know,
there,
the percentage rate, you know, across the board, when you look at that, fortunately, it ends up that road and bridge, sheriff's department are the biggest cuts, and the biggest ones that would be offsetting. The budget would be just mainly, you know, two departments that would the overall volume versus, you know, not picking on anybody, you know, that $24,000, $2 million budget up here, so that, you know, 10% is. It can look lopsided, but, you know, we just have to look overall where it's affecting them. Because I'm pretty sure the road and bridge, we took 400,000 out of it. I'm wishing we still had that, because now I've got a culvert down here, I've got a problem with them. Figuring out the fine.
Sure. Sure, it takes a certain amount of money to keep things going. So I guess I would like to move ahead with trying to hire Lloyd Consulting. I just don't know. I don't want to do it until I know where the funding is going to come from. And I keep trying to ask the question. I haven't done it right because I still don't know. Are we going to ask departments involved if the education piece of what he does is going to provide some assistance to them, so maybe they will contribute?
We could ask that.
Okay.
I mean, we could ask if they would contribute. And if they have capital improvement, we pay out of that.
You are, a lot of them are already coming to.
So the wage and winner, but we did take out, the miscellaneous line item in everybody's.
All right.
Budget this year.
All right.
And that's where we've asked them to use their capital improvement to make up the difference. You know, so we're, you know, we cut hard for everyone to get down to our revenue neutral, but now we've created next year is gonna be
Certainly.
different.
but we didn't hold them that. But we cut, but then we went ahead and spent. So,
And that's a real issue. We cut the revenues coming in, or, you know, I can say you cut the revenues coming in. Because taxes are a problem. They're an issue, but at the same time, we weren't able to adjust spending to keep that cushion. And that cushion is what is, we're gonna find is gonna be critical for unforeseen.
Right. So we're spending our cushion because we don't want to say no.
Right, and then here I am asking for more, and I think if there's any place we can spend some money to make all this make more sense and work like it should. And get these things established so
Right.
so we can work as a group here in this courthouse. And but it still takes money to pay him, and I still haven't heard whether we have the money or not in the way.
Well, it's gonna be like this, we're at the beginning of our budget, we've got money now, but at the end of the year, we may.
not.
Different.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you don't know what the end of the year is gonna bring, I mean, what did we have last year? Yeah, I mean. We didn't have that much left, and then we cut it by 200,000, but then again, we had some expenses that we did. Okay, 2 years ago, the elevator. I mean, that hit us hard.
So the budget process is all year long, whether it's official or not. We're all limited by the constraints of the budget, so everybody's thinking about the budget. And so just to, in essence, I guess for time's sake here, and to move it along, are we at a position right now as a commission where we could vote yea or nay to engage Lloyd Consulting? Or do we need to punt and kick it off to next week so we have more funding questions answered? I guess, and every week that goes by limits the time that his company can help us. Right? Because we'll be in the meat and potatoes of this thing, you know, pretty fast.
What is our? Yeah. In a timely manner, I can't find it. We got 68,000 capital improvement within with the commissioners for the unexpected or things, you know, where we can do this sort of breakdown and stuff within You know, if the elevator goes down or whatever, the unexpected, so.
But we can't keep going back to capital improvement and using that for everything we
Right.
want.
Right.
Well, then that goes back to, you know, if we start planning and planning to purchase our stuff in the future, a little bit at a time, our budgets are still gonna increase up if we plan purchase in the future, because if it takes $5,000 a year to save up for 7 years to buy one piece of equipment, you know,
Sure.
we're still, but you're planning down the road, that we're not saying, okay, we're gonna wait 7 years to come up with $70,000, we're trying to save it a little bit at a time.
So do we as a commission feel confident in either going ahead with the process to engage in services, or do we want to just put it off the next week and we're thinking about it and we want to get more information? And I have no, I mean,
Well,
What do you guys
I
think?
believe that it's something that we need to do,
mhm,
and then I feel that we should, because it's going to. Believe me, you haven't been through a budget process yet.
Right.
If he come in and does everything he said, our budget will be so much easier to deal with this year. We'll have somebody here directing us, guiding us when we have our meetings. We won't have to call and ask for money, amounts to be put in. Let's see what that done for us, you know. He'll do all that for us. We'll have somebody that we can respond to. We won't have to call him. He'll set up meetings with us. He'll be here when we do our budgets.
Mhm.
When the budgets are presented to us, he'll be here through all of that. We've never had that before. We're been here through the whole process.
Well, I kind of think my biggest thing is you can help hold every department, the commissioners, and everybody accountable for what they're going to spend, for what they're going to ask for. Give us more accountability and make sure that we are not just throwing a number out there, but we actually have a use for each number.
okay. So then are we making a decision today? Or are we gonna wait till next week? Do we have a little more financial information? What do you think? I mean, do we give the departments a chance to contribute if,
Yeah,
We can ask any departments who want to contribute anything to this, you know, for the hiring,
Well-
and if not, but I just feel that we are, as commissioner, this should, you know, this is our budget.
sure,
They're presenting it to us,
sure,
so we need to give them the tools to give us the best budget they can.
sure. I agree.
but I don't know how that. They have, hopefully we would save that much by having them be here. Hopefully he'd pay for it.
Do we know if each department, is there an education training / fund that they build into their individual budgets? Nobody does that?
Probably not.
Professional development, anything like that?
I don't think there's anything specifically line item in there. I know that, one of the questions I asked was about our capital improvement, you know. And they said that there should be, everybody's capital improvement should have a plan, what they're using it for. There is no plan to use their dollars. But Butler County guy said that would like you to take it back from them, they don't put a plan how to use their money. So if you have a capital improvement, you should have a plan, what you're using that money for. And why it's sitting there, because it's supposed to be tied to something you're planning to purchase. It should be, but he said, if you see dollar amounts sitting there year after year after year, never being used, so that's just clear that, you know, they're not planning to do something.
Yeah, and then they should be able to put something in there without having any reason to put it in there. And just because you have money left over, there's kind of if you worked and not spent your money and have some left over, and then somebody takes away, that's what leads to spend it or lose it.
Right.
And that's not good, but
But I know that, I asked him about, amounts.
Sure.
And he said, you can say, all right, this department's allowed to have this much sitting there, because that's the most that they may need to spend for computers or this, you know. It should, you can set limits on, with capital improvements, so somebody just doesn't go, what, here, have a bunch of money sitting there that they don't have no plan.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, if they put some aside eventually they're gonna say, well, we have this, we might as well spend it. And that's not, I mean, it's like chairs. Well, we got money, well, let's buy new chairs. or
So I
whatever.
think we're having a good discussion here. What I hear and the question I still don't feel comfortable with is where's the money gonna come from? So I would make a motion, if it's appropriate, that we, I guess we proceed. Well, just basically in discussion on this and just ask the question amongst the departments, if, you know, if they have any funding that they would allocate towards this, and then we bring it up next week and make a decision. And maybe we don't need a motion on that, and that's just.
So you don't need a vote, that's just discussion for asking departments if there's anybody that would put any dollars in towards the, the hiring of the lawyer. That's just all the question.
Like retaining lawyer group in this.
But really, I think next week we can make our decision to either retain them or.
No or no go. Yes, I agree.
Because
I agree.
they need to get in here, as they say, first in March or in February, they're gonna be starting to talk about budgets and meeting with our group.
So hopefully we can get more information and some financial stuff, and then next week we can make a decision whether to engage in or not. Sound good? Okay, perfect.
I think that I know that, I don't want to speak for thinking, but I know that you and we have, that this is very.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
What's that?
I'm not doing it anymore.
Well, okay.
So, yeah, I mean,
It's not appreciated for now.
Okay, that, I'm glad you said that, because that might make it.
Yeah.
So will that make the minutes with the Lloyd group?
I just believe. That's good.
the many that they would like to put in, or.
You want to know?
Is it assumed that they'll all say no? I mean, I have no idea. I don't know how competitive we get for money around here.
Well, I know that myself, with the road and bridge, I'm speaking for the road and bridge, I think. Feel that, each district does determine, if they can put in, 3,000, 4,000, whatever it is, and we got one of the bigger budgets too.
Yeah.
I mean, but,
Okay.
and making sure that that's what they directly report to us, so it's our say so on that, but yet.
So, okay, well, there's no, the one I want to communicate is that if as commissioners, I think we believe this group has value.
Yes.
As in each individual department, whatever that may be, road and bridge, just use them. If you feel like this has value to you, then we would love for you to contribute so we can make this work for everybody. I mean, I don't want to say we're trying to hijack funds from them. It's more of just if they see value in it, then it'd be great that we could all sort of come together, in some small way at least.
Yeah.
And go on, because he's going to engage with everybody. He'll talk to them. I mean, he's going to talk to Road and Bridge individually.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Or the treasurer's office or the registry of deeds. He's going to go to everybody. So,
And in the past, really our foremans have never really ever had anything to do with the budget process and see what goes through it. Amy usually did most of it, put it all together and brought it to the foreman's role, and you can sit down to know what's happening with budgets. What money and what it does, how it affects us.
sure. Sure.
They're spending it all.
Okay. All right. It's all good. Everything you said was great, but we probably ought to move on if that's okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Bill, do you have anything that you'd like to bring up?
No, nothing else.
Okay, I did have a good idea from this KAC training, and Mr. Hill's here, so I just question you. One of the counties we talked to, has a policy at the end of their open meeting, their weekly meeting. They adjourn the business part and they move into what they call a work session.
Yeah, that's something that can happen, as long as, there aren't any decisions made in that work session.
No action taken. Okay, for instance, what we just did here with the Lloyd, we didn't really take any action on that. Is that legitimate to talk about in a work session?
You could, and those still would be open. I mean,
Okay.
Those would still be open to, public, so people
Okay,
be able.
is there, so the commission meeting ends at random times based on what we have to discuss. So if there won't be a hard start and there won't be a hard stop time to this work session, is that all legit?
Yeah, as long as it's open to the public, since there's still be a public there, but the COVID can still apply, and no action taken, some, something certain, take a look at it.
And as I understood, no one's obligated to be here, like the county clerk can go away. She's got other things to do. You can go away because you have other things to, I mean, if you choose, but you can stay if you want.
Sure.
And the technology guy, I'm sorry. You may have to be here, but maybe not. Does it have to be live streamed?
You don't have to live stream, I mean, it's just something we do for the public, is the public participation. Not participation, public observation part is the critical thing. It's
Okay.
open to the public, so.
So if the door's open and we're talking back there and we're not conducting business, not taking any action, I guess, then we're good. And I'm hoping. Well, what I gleaned at this meeting was it gave people an opportunity, the commissioners to talk about things that maybe are boring and people, like this Lloyd group things, we're talking to each other back and forth. But it also helps us kind of maybe plan a little bit, discuss some things as a group that's in an open, and legal environment. And part of the stuff that I see that goes on in this courthouse is it feels like communication or lack thereof is kind of a bugaboo. So I think it was Barton County's who did this, and it was even an opportunity for department heads and employees of the courthouse, people to come in and just talk to them. And so they could, work, just kind of
Know what's
work
going
through
on.
things, work session.
Right.
So
Probably set a time when we can on that, or
we could, and they kept it open for members of the public too, and so people knew that if they maybe didn't want to speak in the public comment section, they could come in and address the commissioners. Is that still legitimate, Mr. Hill? Or does it cross a line?
I mean, it depends on what, from the legal standpoint, you can have your work sessions. I think where question may come up is if that this is the actual public meeting portion, where the public doesn't come in when all of the, if somebody doesn't like, road and bridge and the public, and they don't come in when road and bridge is here to answer questions, and then come wait until they leave. They come in and talk about that, that's where I think it might be counterintuitive.
Okay,
So, at least the ones I'm familiar with is more of a, I'll use it especially for budgets and things like that, but I think that we use the work sessions for budgets. Not necessarily for a regular agreement day occasion with them, there are probably some counties that do, I'd say the majority would just treat the work sessions as more of a, something to treat something like the budget that takes a long time to get through, so.
so in your experience, are there any guidelines then for a work
There
session?
should be, I mean, I could take a look at it, we've never had it here, but not saying you couldn't have something like that. Or you can just, as opposed to having every Monday, because I know, certain commissioners, we don't want to discourage, people in the future from being county commissioners, we know it's a very fun job, that you guys all enjoy having.
So,
If it was a regular thing, that might be something to consider. So you might look at maybe starting off with, first Monday, we have work sessions until such and such to discuss it. But you can certainly do it when legally.
so could I ask them to come up with some guidelines for us?
I can look for some.
Okay, I'd like that.
Okay.
And,
I like the bottom. I'd hate to start out every meeting, but start with one, see how it goes, and if we need to add another one, we add. See how long they last, but I think it's needed. And the ability to be able to talk is important and plan. It's hard to talk and plan in our regular session, to look at what we wanna. Okay, yeah, we wanna bring this up in the regular commission and take a vote on doing this, we can't make decisions in here, but we need to bring it before the commission, before the.
and that's why we need the guidelines too, to keep us in our lane. So, but I think it'd be a good opportunity to discuss and invite maybe some extra collaboration, communication. It doesn't cost anything.
So that, I think.
I agree.
Okay, I'll give you examples, like if you had, like the sheriff, you had, law enforcement questions. So, you want to know about, what's patrol like in this city and what do we do in this city? I'm that be a good time for a work session. So you could maybe have a specific, topic too on your work sessions instead of just having general. Or like road and bridge or, landfill or whatever, you can have that. Time too. That's more-
But if we kept it open-ended, is that?
No, that's not a problem.
It's still fun, okay. Oh, oh. Anything? We have, yeah, I was just trying to walk down the line, because we do have some business we didn't get to take care of. No, anybody?
Yes. On the employees and the bigger funds, like the one big company, we have anticipated getting these bigger funds. I'm gonna invite you today at Walmart and you have like those documents. In that, would it be possible, when someone completes their thing, they'll go, we just have it credit off a revenue check. And then you, instead of going and get the funds.
I didn't hear, that was you, right, Jeff, or?
Well, the gift cards for completing our
Right,
insurance.
right, I got that.
You can only get 2 of those a day out there. One know if it's easier to issue the check for those services instead of getting a gift card to give to somebody.
It'd be easier to do what?
You give a check instead of.
It
going
costs
out to
money, it costs,
Walmart.
there's a fee to get the gift card. right?
Yeah. As long as it's. It's okay, you know, there's no.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
There's no tax issues with that, is there?
No, if you're looking to do coverage by the
It sounds fine. Do we need a motion on that? To change from gift cards to having the,
probably.
okay, so does everybody understand what we're talking about?
So instead of giving gift cards, we're just going to give them cash or a check. Basically,
Makes a motion that we came from the, issuing gift cards for, participation in health. And dental participation, the check instead of gift card.
Is there a second?
second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Good.
And then. The other thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Road and Bridge.
Adding the spot on the road and bridge pay scale, like the basic improvement. And have a weight, range instead of. Oh, it's steps.
Second off.
We have like.
A range.
Oh,
Just got a basic improvement. 1850 to
I think that, Butler County, you guys presented at the meeting on budgets. I went and looked at how they do their road and bridge instead of, they have all the titles, but they have a beginning wage and they on top of it. And they virtually can fall in between there.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Can you just explain that again?
Well, I said at Butler County, I went and looked online, it can be printed out too, but it shows. Like if you have, let's say, the road and bridge department, we have, we have crew in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have them listed in there, but they have a pay range, starting pay range and an ending pay range. And you can fall,
For each department or for each,
well, it could be every department will have. So they just list the pay range versus each step having, so otherwise. You hire an crewman too, and we can say it's $25, I mean, whatever it is, it's you start them at where you want to start. Dollar wise. But
who makes that call? Where they're starting at?
So that would be just the elected official and then form number. But that, you know, those are things we need to look at. We just can't make that change. But you're saying we need to add a spot in there.
Yeah. The range, so the part-time help. Not like that.
Result. Need to be able to differentiate between, even though they're part-time, some people have a lot more experience or a lot more knowledge than others. So just saying one number for everybody that's part-time, doesn't necessarily cover it. I mean,
Is this road and bridge specific? Okay. So I see that community corrections has a part-time all positions number. We just don't. So is this something we can, do we need to make a change today or do we need to think about it for next week? Or
There used to be a seasonal part-time, sorry, I didn't even,
you're fine, it's information.
there used to be a place, and this is 2022's,
Ah. Okay,
but at the time, we didn't really have any part-time in Road and Bridge.
so did
But-
this went away on its own or somebody decided to think it? The commission decided? to
Yeah.
add it? So it really would be as simple as just adding it back in?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And like Nikki said, you can put a range in there instead of just like crewman 1
Mhm.
makes that. Crewman 2 makes that, you know, you can do
Yeah.
a range and then you can just put them in.
do you, the commissioners here, do you remember why that was removed? Was that removed? when you were-
well, part of it was, I think, we were, like a summer help. We're paying a new guy that would just fit it for the first time, the same as we paid somebody that's been there for 10 years.
And so-
And that's why they decided to just designate the seasonal help as crewman 1, crewman 2, based on their experience and their longevity, because we had some that have been coming back for 10 years. Just in the summer.
Are the district foremen asking for this change back?
No,
They're not. This is coming from.
we. His wage isn't even on the wage scale,
Okay, so we need to.
since we're going by
Right, the,
this one.
Yeah.
We have one that's not even on this. He's making a secretary wage scale.
so if I read this correctly, what's written in ink here is to add a crewman, like a starting crewman position at a range of 1850 to 2050. And that covers the, okay. Does that make sense? Does that address the seasonal issue where someone has experienced the?
We haven't really had an issue with them just because we. That's more the part-time. Yeah, it's more the part-time.
And this would be part-time crew. Good. Is that right?
We could put. Yeah,
What do you think, Mr. Liverpool?
I'm good with it. I just want, is that what she wrote?
That's what he writes.
Okay. That'd be our starting crew.
Starting crew.
Or our temporary crew member, whoever we are.
Part-time.
But we add a crewman on, we could get a starting wage between 1850 and 2050, and then we can move them up.
right.
Okay.
And just go, they would just go into like 1 or 2.
Mr. Paul?
And then that would, yeah, take care of. Like a part-time.
I have trouble thinking, I mean, when they give raises, you just. Seems like it's just. We're giving everybody the same raise. Sometimes I think not everybody is ready for the same raise at the same time. So. There's no way that,
That's where you're, you have your job title in there, but it would be your your pay rate, if you had a pay range like they did on there.
Right. So that wouldn't be, that would help.
So if somebody deserves a raise, they can get a raise, but if they didn't, we all know that some people pull their weight and some don't. The only way you can get, if they're gonna, if they're automatically gonna get the dollar because everybody's moved up a dollar on all the steps, you know, what's gonna make them work harder? Well,
Right.
you know, now we can say, okay, we can move somebody up without affecting the steps.
If we put a range in here, does that negate? If we change it, does that make the rest of it still in effect? Or does everyone need a range? And that's just a, that's not supposed to stir up a hornet's nest, it's just, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that could, yeah. I think we have to look at it a little bit more than. But even if it doesn't affect, we got, still got the issue we got to put.
Sure. Is there a motion or is there any more discussion on this? And what we're looking at is adding a beginning crewman part-time position for the starting range of $18.50 an hour to $20.50 an hour. Is that what is that the intent? Okay. So is there a motion to make that happen? Just on road and bridge?
Part-time, yeah. I mean, so I don't think that, this other issue we have, when I said that we ought to start the one guy at $20. It's cause, partly because we needed him, that's what he wanted. But then turn around and that, this guy said it was $20, that made him a crewman too, not necessarily. But he was probably qualified, I mean, he's from experience, maybe, but he never showed us what he could do before that.
I think this change probably allows for the situation. It allows for that, what happened to fall in the range.
If we put a range on each one of them, or,
Mhm.
or do we need a range on each one? Cause if you just put this as crewman one, he thinks he ought to be a crewman two. And
I'm hoping the spirit of this is to allow the county to hire someone as a basic starting or part-time crewman at a lower entry point, and then let them work their way up. And it gives them a range because it may be your first day, you don't have a lot of experience, but maybe you used a backhoe at some time and they see that that's, well, that you're not technically, you're an entry level worker here, but you have some experience, so maybe say $18.50, say $19.
It doesn't solve our problem with the ones we hired full time.
No,
And it's not supposed to.
we did not finish that.
But we
So-
just have we're talking about the one
Right.
part-time one. If hired, but then, you know, I have a part-time that's, been on me for a while, that's higher than that, but he's been in there, he's been moved up.
well, and then, so we have a part-time one that is even more than this one. But he was a past employee, but now he's just working part-time. So you're gonna, will you drop him clear back down? I mean,
He's a
That would be the team.
2075.
we're talking, that's what he's getting. I thought he was getting more than that.
You haven't signed it. No, this is what he's at.
Okay,
Okay, well, I will, if I can, I guess I'll make a motion that we adopt this beginning crewman with the range of $18.50 to $20.50 an hour. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Okay, then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. And is there, yes. Okay, all right. Is there anything else?
Do
Then
we need to finish?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
we're going to finish that executive.
okay, so someone want to make a motion to go into the executive session?
5 or 10.
Yeah, whatever you think. Probably, maybe
Thank
10,
you, thank you.
maybe 10.
Maybe 10. Go executive session for non-elected personnel with the three commissioners and Nikki for.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
I'm sorry. All right, thank you. 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in regular session, coming out of executive and no action taken. Is there anything else that needs to come before the commission this morning?
You can go up and ask Barb about that.
You're good?
I'm gonna ask for one more 5-minute executive session, just the 3 commissioners,
Okay,
so for non-elected personnel.
okay. Is there a second?
Second,
Any, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right,
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Back in regular session
He's actually.
and no action taken.
21.
No action taken. So is there anything else to come before the commission? Yep, go ahead.
Can't hear two people at once. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Go ahead. You can.
He was making 20.50 and then with the 50 cents, he's at 21.
Okay, are you taken care of?
I'm done now.
Right on, right on. Okay, is there anything else to come before the commission?
I'm good.
If not, we'd have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all opposed, same sign.